Great evening, great evening, great evening. I see we had a couple of technicalities. I see that across the system that they're talking about here. So just one moment. Let me see if I can bring my friends over. Okay, we are going to be unconventional. It's all good. Just got notification that some of the other platforms have some issues. So we are going to stream this way. All right. So great evening, and great evening. And welcome to the Sonya Dungee podcast, episode 164 already. I cannot believe that. It's 164 episodes. Thank God. And I'm so grateful for each and every one of you for that. So, just going to go ahead and jump right in. Tonight's episode is being brought to you by Always Destined for Greatness LLC. And this is the Sonya Dungee podcast. I am your host, Sonya Dungee. And as always, yes, still bringing the heat to the IG, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok streets. Okay. And with that being said, the Sonya Dungee podcast, where essence of the soul is the conversation that we speak here. Okay. So I want to thank all you for joining and waiting. This technicalities, it's across the board, but hey, we don't allow for spiritual warfare to intervene with what we have to deliver. So tonight's episode, we are going to be talking about forgiveness. Okay, forgiveness is key to become unstuck. Okay, and forgiveness is something that it's not easy. It's not an easy thing to forgive. We all know that. But we're going to talk about it, okay? We're definitely going to talk about that tonight because we are in the third quarter of 2025 and we got to make things happen. All right. We talk about becoming unstuck, we talk about becoming resilient, but we can't be resilient until we take the steps that are needed beforehand. So, beforehand, we have to strive, okay? We have to learn to strive, all right? So that we can thrive, all right? Because I always spoke resilient. Oh, we're going to be resilient, we're going to be resilient, but then realize the steps that's needed to take ahead of time, all right? So I have a question for all of you, and that is, what does it truly mean? What does it truly mean to become unstuck? And taking it one step further, what does it mean to be stuck? All right, now, stuck has so many facets of it, all right? There's so many ways that a person can be stuck that we don't even realize it. And I've spoken about this on so many different platforms and so many different times that stuck can mean you're an empty nester. Your child went away to school, went into the service, got married, or moved away, bought their own place, started their own family. And I know firsthand what that feels like because when my children left, I cried like a baby, keeping it 100. They didn't even make it down the stairs. I know they heard me. I cried like a baby because they were leaving. And I was like, well, what am I going to do now? I'm used to them always being around, whether it's noisy or it's quiet or we're having family time or we're hanging out, playing games, cards, whatever it is. That's not going to be the case anymore. Okay. And another example of that is going through a divorce. And a great example that I found was, not only are you divorced or divorcing from that person you were with, but everybody else too. Friends in common, the other family, you're divorcing from them too. And that can leave you stuck. Another example is being an adoptee. And you're stuck because you feel like you were discarded. You felt like you weren't loved. And you could be angry. And it's hard to think of it the other way, that it wasn't the case. That was a great sacrifice. And that you were loved and you are loved. Another is grief. And in that, I like to share a portion of my story when it comes to grief. You see, my story began on January 23rd of 2021. It was during the height of the pandemic. And it was at the VA hospital in Northport, New York. And it happened precisely 12 p.m. You see, my dad, he had a blood disorder. And in that blood disorder, he didn't bleed out. It was more like his blood wasn't matriculating through his body as it should be. And he was having to get blood transfusions every couple of weeks. And his doctor, who was the head of hematology and oncology at the time, said, I'm not really concerned about that, because you see, your body is like an old car. You have an old engine. You're not going to go buy a new engine for an old car if it's leaking oil. You're just going to keep replacing the oil. So that's what he was doing. He was going for blood transfusions when needed. And we thought that that was just going to be his way of life, because other than that, my father was in great health to be 5 days short of his 83rd birthday. And 48 hours before, when I took my dad to the VA, this person sat before us that I never saw before and said he had 6 months to live. So in that, I was running around like saying to myself, and in my mind, it's like, oh my gosh, don't show emotion. But you know what? If that's the case, my dad is going to have the best 6 months of his life. And you can see him blowing. I apologize. I have the fan on in the background, so he's flapping in the wind. This is my dad here. I said to myself, and I called my siblings to say, I told them what was the case. And I said, you know what? I'm going to take care of dad. I had a sister in Florida. I had another brother in Florida, and I had another sister in Sweden. I was right there. I said, all these things I'm going to do. I was moving all the furniture out of my room, ordering a hospital bed, a recliner, everything that my dad needed to be as comfortable as he could be. And he was going to live his best life possible in those 6 months. But God had another plan. Not even 48 hours, there I was at my dad's bedside, holding his left hand, watching the tear come down his cheek as he took his last breath here on this earth, and his first breath in heaven. And as a result, immediately, I screamed, I hollered, and hey, I'm going to keep it 100 with you. I'm going to keep it as transparent with you. I screamed, I hollered, I pleaded, I begged. I told my dad, please don't leave me. I had to be pulled out of there. And it was one of the most coldest days in January. Because I was stuck, and it wasn't like I was being pulled out of there because I was making noise or whatever. I when it was time to go, I couldn't move. And I remained stuck just like that. Just like that. For almost an entire year. 342 days, do the math. I lost a lot of weight rapidly without realizing it at all. I was suffering in silence, so I thought, because I didn't want my family to grieve any more than they were already grieving. I was a gerbil on a wheel. I was doing the same thing day after day, just like that movie Groundhog Day. The only thing that changed was the seconds, the minutes, the hours, the days, the months. And that continued. Until, excuse me, I decided enough was enough. My dad wouldn't expect that of me. He would be disappointed. I wasn't spending time with my family, my grandchildren. I had 3 beautiful grandchildren at the time. Now I'm blessed with 4. They were growing up, and there I was, stuck. So once I said enough was enough, and I meant it, I went and I just sought help. I found myself a transformation coach. I found myself a community. And he was more than a transformation coach. I'm not even going to tell you all the names I call him. But he was my coach and he was my mentor. And he told me, there I was crying my eyes out. He said to me, he said, if you're teachable, if you're coachable, if you do the work, and if you show up, I will help you. In my mind, I heard it as, I'm going to show him I can do it. I can be teachable. I can be coachable. I can show up. I can do the work. I'm going to show him. But see, I wasn't showing him. I didn't have to show him. Because he knew deep down inside from being a coach and a mentor that if he gave me the tools and if I did the work, I would be able to become unstuck. And I did. I showed up for myself. Once I realized it wasn't about him, it was me. I did the work. You see, I poured into myself, and in pouring into yourself, that means financially too. Classes wasn't free. I sacrificed and I made it happen because I knew I had a purpose in life. I knew I beat the odds. I could have been dead 4 times over. But God had me here for a purpose. And you will hear me talk about God. I'm a child of God. I'm never going to push that on you, but I will talk about it. And if it's not for you, I can respect that 100. But in that, in doing the work, I was able to truly find what my calling is, what my purpose was. And today I sit before you as a proud transformation coach. And you see, now I get to help those that are struggling in hardship and grief and life challenges go from suffering in silence and feeling stuck with no direction and no end in sight, to becoming unstuck and resilient and with clarity and with an attitude of expectation and of excellence, so that they too can achieve economic independence, and so that they too can be destined for their true greatness, so that they too can walk fully in their God-given purpose. That's the reason why I do these podcasts. That's the reason why I am here today in front of you at episode 164. So thank you for allowing me to share that with you. And I am reading the comments along the way. I don't want to lose them. And I apologize, but I would really truly like to know where you are tuning in from tonight. I see Harlem is in the building. Thank you for joining. Stuck in a cold January. Yes, yes. Trying to deal with the reality at the moment would have been difficult. It was very difficult. And to be honest with you, I had to be ready. I had to be ready to want to move forward. And that was something that I had to learn as a transformation coach, that I would get so frustrated because I wanted it more than the person wanted it themselves. I had a person in particular standing right in front of my face and saying, I'm good. And I'm looking right through the person and saying, no, you're not. Your actions are not. Your actions are saying something different. But it came a day when I had to realize I couldn't pull that person off the struggle bus. I couldn't even help them down the stairs. The only thing that I could do was be there at the bus stop to help them walk in the correct direction. Okay? I thought I could give out bus passes and just wait. No, that's not how it works. Yes, I am unstuck and I am unstoppable. Thank you for that. And I see the relatability popping up. Thank you so much. Amen. You're getting value. Jackson is in the building. Jacksonville, Florida. Wow, this is extraordinary. Thank you. Tuning in from the Caribbean, Trinidad. Amen. And you're saying facts. You see, I'm taking the time to explain this for a reason. The reason why I'm explaining this is the same reason why I'm here week after week after week without fail. Because I don't want to fail for somebody who's waiting to hear what it is that I have to say, the message that's being delivered. You see, God's working through me. I'm the vessel. It's not me, but it's God. You see, I went through these things so that I can share my story. My dad left me a gift in his passing. That gift is to share with all of you what I went through and to offer my help to all of you who need it. And I might not be talking to you. It might not be you that needs the help, but rest assured, I'm sure you know somebody that does need the help. And if that's the case, I ask that you share with them this live. Share with them how to join the Sonya Dungee podcast through the different social media platforms. Share with them. Let them go back to previous episodes because it's important. I wish I had this. I wish I had someone in a podcast that I could watch. I wish I knew earlier that I could reach out to my mentor, my coach. I wish I knew about my loving community that I have, that it was okay for me to tell my truth, that it wasn't embarrassment to cry, that it was okay that I was stuck, but it wasn't okay to become stuck too long. And that's what I'm sharing with you, without trying to go off topic, that it's okay to grieve. It's okay that you go through life challenges. It's okay that there will be storms and that you're either going in a storm, you're in a storm, or you're coming out of a storm. But just know you will come out. You will come out. You'll go in again. But the difference is you know how to handle it. And that's what I didn't know. And had I have known that, I would not have wasted those 364 days. I wouldn't have been running back and forth to the cemetery to stare at the Calabarium wall with my dad's name on it. And there's nothing wrong when doing that. But I was doing it every day. I was behind closed doors crying my eyes out every day. I dropped so much weight, it was crazy. It was crazy. It wasn't conducive. Me hiding in my grief wasn't conducive for my mental health. It was taking a serious toll on me. And thank you for telling me that it's okay to share my story. Because I think it's important. And it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy to get on social media. Hell, I didn't even know how in the beginning. My first podcast, I had a whole podcast by myself. Until I found out. I didn't make it public. But I didn't throw out the towel in and say, oh, the heck with it, I'll do it some other time. I did it again. Again till another and another and another. It was embarrassing at first to put my business out there. I didn't want to embarrass my family. But it was something that needed to be done. Because that's part of my purpose. That's part of my walk. If I don't share my story so that people can relate and know that it's okay, there's lives out there that's not going to be helped. And I don't like to say it, but the truth is the truth. There is a percentage of people who never get to walk in their God-given purpose because they're no longer here, because they died of grief, because they died because they were stuck. And it took a toll on them mentally, physically, and socially. Some even died of a broken heart. I used to hear that and I'd be like, what? How do you die of a broken heart? But you can. And since I'm talking truth here, some took their own lives. And I don't want that for any of you. I don't want anybody to be stuck. I don't want anybody to ever have to suffer the way that I did, ever, ever. And I'm not sitting here trying to pat myself on the back, on the back or the shoulder. I'm not yelling at anybody. I'm not standing on a soapbox. I just feel like we are in the third quarter. And I wanted so much for all of you, like I wanted it for myself, to be able to move forward in life so that we can achieve our goals and our dreams, and we can walk in our purpose, and we can help those that we were called to serve. We could answer to those voices. Because you might not know what your purpose is, but I can help you with that because we all have it. And yes, thank God. Thank you. I'm reading and it states, you've got it now. We are the benefactors and and are better for it. Thank you. Faith and courage. Your purpose is powerful and so are you. Thank you. Thank you. I just pray that my message is being delivered the way that I intend for it to be delivered. And so even though I had forgiveness is the key to become unstuck, this is all part of it because we have to forgive ourselves first. We can't blame ourselves for what happened, but make it part of your story so that you can share with others. But don't allow the pen of the past to write your future. That's important. You see, that ink is dried up. That ink is dried up from the past. Write your future with a clean, fresh, inked pen. Forgive yourself. You see, you didn't cause a divorce. Your family wasn't running out on you that you became an empty nester. It's called they went to live their lives. You see, if it's an adoption, you didn't cause that. As a mother, I love my children so deeply. I don't say it enough. I don't show it enough. And I know that. I'm guilty of that. But I make a conscious effort moving forward to let them know that I love them. I support them no matter what. I don't judge my children. My children aren't perfect. I'm not perfect. I was a young mother. I was 18 when I had my son, 19 when I had my daughter, 27 when I had my third. But then things were different. So as I told my two older children, I grew up with you. You were almost like brother and sister. I did the very best I could do. But now I know better, so I could do better. And now I have grandchildren, and I can love and support them too. So I don't blame myself. And I forgive myself that I wasn't the perfect leave it to beaver mother, as they portray it. But a mother's wit is boundless. Absolutely, it is. And I look at my children and I'm proud of them. They're parents, two of them. And the one that isn't, she's a hellified auntie. And I'm proud of that. So I forgive myself for that. I forgive myself for being stuck. What do you forgive yourself for? You can put it in the chat or you can write it down. But ask yourself that question. What do you forgive yourself for? That's important. Because you can't be unstuck until you forgive. Whether it's you or someone else. You see, I have another part of my story. And I had to do a lot of forgiveness. I had to give much forgiveness. But I've learned to forgive. Even when I'm questioned sometimes, well, how do you forgive that person for what they did to you? How do you forgive that person because she turned her back and she knew what was going on? But you see, I had to. And one of those people that I'm talking about, and it's not my dad, but I took care of that person too. Until that person passed and went to be with the Lord. And I forgave. And I've learned about grace, God's riches at Christ's expense. And I've made it a point to give myself grace when I'm not as perfect as I want to be perfect, because there is no such thing as perfect. And that's basically what I wanted to share with you today. You are going to be stuck for quite some time until you learn forgiveness and you exercise forgiveness. Amen, amen. Don't blame yourself for what comes in life's journey. Absolutely, yes. You guys are doing amazing tonight. You are really active in the chat. I so appreciate you. And for the other platforms, because that there is something that's going on another platform, I got a message for it. That's why I am going live on my phone. I will too after, being that I'm on live on my phone and I can't keep going back and checking. But you know what? I'm going to attempt it just the same because I don't want to forget about anybody tonight. So I am going to attempt to jump over if I can, um, to see if possible what's going on over there. Let me see if I could. I can't. Comments and I will respond. So I've taken up a lot of your time today. I thank you for your comments. I thank you so much for you coming and joining in week after week between the Walk and Talks with Sonya and the Sonya Dungee podcast and on Always Destined for Greatness. I do truly appreciate all of you. You give me the strength to say the things in front of you that I say, knowing that I'm not going to be judged. And it becomes easier and easier each and every time. And in the comments, I'm reading, I forgive myself for not having enough love for myself. Yes. Thank you so much for your transparency. But I'm grateful to be able to read that and know that you're forgiving yourself for that. We have to love on ourselves. We have to give ourselves self-care and self-love. And I'm forgiving myself for being imperfect, but for the grace of God. Amen. Yes. I can't be more prouder. I'm trying so hard to hold back the tears because I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for this platform. I'm so grateful for all of you. I'm grateful for being able to read the testimonies here tonight. It means everything to me. And I applaud you all. And I encourage you to keep doing that. Give yourself grace. God's riches at Christ's expense. And forgive yourself. There's nothing in this world that we cannot forgive ourselves for. There's people that are in incarceration that are learning how to forgive themselves. And everybody deserves a second chance. Everybody, self included. Give yourself that second chance. And with that being said, be safe. Stay well. God bless you all. And bye for now.